So Georgia then, once a democratic trailblazer in the volatile region, is in political turmoil. A sharp reversal of fortune for a small post-Soviet state which has spent the better part of 2 decades now aspiring to move closer to the West. Going to talk about that with our commentator Douglas Herbert. Doug, help us get through this political mess. How did things actually escalate, if you like, to get to this point in the first place?
Yeah, well, first, Stuart, you're absolutely right using the term. It is a political mess, and it's escalated relatively quickly. Look, I mean, the breaking point was really last autumn. There were elections, parliamentary elections held in Georgia. They were won by the current ruling party, the Georgian Dream Party, which was founded back in 2012. The problem is that while the Georgian Dream Party, according to international observers, the election was basically competitive, free and fair, didn't really find any sufficient irregularities to call it fraudulent or anything. But the opposition party within Georgia itself cried foul. They basically said that this was a rigged election, rigged obviously in the favor of the Georgian Dream Party. And the man who led a lot of that outcry and led the subsequent boycott after those October elections, the boycott of the parliament, that is the opposition party refusing to take seats in the country's parliament over this election, is the man who was arrested this week, arrested in a very sort of forceful police raid on the headquarters of his opposition party called the United National Movement. Now, he is right now obviously in detention. And the question is whether the ruling party might bend, to the international pressure now and release him. The problem here is essentially right now is that the two parties don't really speak to each other. Before the opposition leader was arrested, Stuart, I might note that the prime minister of the country, who's not part of the opposition, he's very much in the ruling party, resigned. This was just last week. And why did he resign? He resigned after a Tbilisi court basically ordered this arrest, which has since come to pass, of the opposition leader. Why would the prime minister of the ruling party do that? He did it because he said he wanted to do it in the best interest of Georgia. He feared that the arrest of this leader basically would, his name's Nika Melia, the arrest of this leader would further polarize Georgia at a very fragile time in the country's politics and at a time of crisis. So he tried to step down, as he says, in the country's best interest. But the upshot, Stuart, right now is the country really is at loggerheads. An opposition not sitting in parliament, its leader arrested, in detention, a ruling party not really speaking to it, and a parliament with most of its seats empty because the opposition isn't sitting there. So where do you go from here?
So, Doug, tell us about the billionaire who founded Georgia's ruling party. Many Georgians kind of assuming he's the one who calls the shots.
Yeah, Bidzina Ivanishvili is his name, and he is exactly that, a billionaire in a country with not many billionaires. Basically, Ivanishvili is the man who he founded the now ruling party, the Georgia Dream Party, in 2012 after Mikhail Saakashvili left power. And he was briefly prime minister of Georgia before sort of retreating, but he never retreated to the sidelines. Ivanishvili has been always a very sort of brash, if reserved figure at the same time in the Georgian scene. He has a palatial compound. Some have compared it to a sort of a James Bond villain-like compound on the outside of Tbilisi overlooking the capital. He's built himself a private zoo. He is known for collecting master works of art, Picassos and Monets. But more importantly, he is the man who does call the shots. The current prime minister, the man who replaced the prime minister I just said resigned, the new one, basically Herbert, is an associate of Ivanishvili. Now, Ivanishvili, the billionaire, says that he is no longer in politics. He sort of has retired from politics. Almost no Georgian you speak to believes that. They believe he's very much still the man who's the arbiter of Georgia's politics. And I'll just leave you with this thought. Where did he make his billions? He made it in the 1990s in Russia, in banking, in real estate, and all of that. And how do you get money out of Russia? Very difficult. He got his money out of Russia, and a lot of people say that must mean he has some sort of agreement or ties to the Russian leaders, or at least, at the very least, on very good terms with them to get his money out of Russia into Georgia.
Doug, thanks very much. Our commentator there, Doug Herbert, joining us.